Okay, this is the interview with Miss Megan. Can you please tell me about your experiences as an English teacher in this school?
Okay. Well, I've been teaching English in the school for 6 years now, nearly 6 years.
Do you mind taking it?
I'll hold this.
Thank you.
Actually, I've been teaching English for 5 years. This is my 6th year, coming into my 6th year. And I've enjoyed the school environment in terms of the staff, really enjoy working with my colleagues and teaching the students. We have a PLPRW program, the literacy program in the school, and it runs very smoothly. But it's quite strange, sorry. I have to get used to speaking into this. It runs quite smoothly because we have the local colleagues and myself, and we've done it for a while, so we've smoothed it out to suit the needs of our students' levels. Mm-hmm. How long do you want me to talk for each question?
So, how long have you been an English teacher?
Nearly 20 years now. Yeah, nearly 20 years.
So you also taught in primary schools before?
Yeah, I taught actually another language, Māori, and that was in New Zealand. So I was a Māori language teacher first, and then I trained to be an English language teacher, and then I taught in Japan and China as well. And so my latest teaching post has been in New Zealand, and the latest one is here. So we've been here for 9 years now. So yeah, a few different experiences.
So how do you plan for lessons?
Well, because we have the PLPRW program, we've got pre-planned lessons, but they actually do, over the years, they evolve and change because depending on the sort of level of the student. So sometimes if we've got a higher level class, some of the teaching strategies and the material we have to make more difficult for the students. But because that program is a planned program, we have all our basics like phonics and the small book reading, shared reading, guided readings, is all in place. So it's really just tailor making it sort of to the needs of the level of the students we get.
Mm-hmm. So what classes do you teach?
P1 and P2, and
all the classes.
All the P1s and all the P2s. And then, we do recess activities, but I don't know if you want to know about recess activities.
Recess?
We do recess. We start out with the low level, the P1s, the struggling ones that sort of struggle with their letter recognition and basics, basically numbers, colours. So for half a year, I work with them in the English room in morning recess, and they come in for games, but they're quite targeted actually. They are games, but they're targeted activities to teach them the basics.
All the P1 students? All the
P1s, all the lower level, all the yellow groups. So all the yellow group students come, and some of the P2s that are still struggling. And then, but once we've sort of done that, then we move to the higher level, and we do some speaking activities with them. So at the moment I'm working with red groups, and that will be for P1 and P2, and we do speaking activities, speaking games, and where they sort of build fluency, and that's morning recess. And then the middle groups, they are the next ones. So very soon then I move to the middle one, and they do so obviously medium ability games. So still on the basics, but a bit more than just colour and numbers. Yeah.
So can you describe the tutoring received by the students in the classes that you teach? Do you know anything about that?
No, I don't know. I am aware the students do homework classes within the school, and I do know the phenomena of tutoring outside of the classroom in Hong Kong, and students going to tutorial schools. So I'm very well aware of that situation. But as in our individual students, their exact how long they go for, I don't know.
Can you guess how the percentage of students having tutoring?
Well, I'm not sure, because the socioeconomic sort of climate is not very high, so I would imagine there's not a lot of extra money for private tutoring, but I'm sure they do some, but maybe not as much as a wealthy sort of percentage.
This is the percentage
of
students not having tutoring.
That doesn't surprise me.
Lots of them still go to
I would have thought it would be about 60% that didn't go and 40 that
so it's
did.
not a surprise.
No, just
Okay.
because I think where there's not a lot of money, parents are trying to just pay for food and electricity, so it must be a
Yes.
real struggle for them to pay for tutoring on top of basic needs.
Yeah. So why do you think tutoring, the phenomenon, exists?
Well, still recording.
Yes.
Well, it is the school system. There is a lot of homework. You know, my child is in primary school in P3, and he goes to a local school, so a Chinese school. So I'm very aware of this. Yeah, quite a lot of homework, and for some parents. Like for myself, my son goes to a Chinese school, so I can't help him with the Chinese homework. So, of course, normally we would have a tutor, but my husband can speak Chinese. So my husband is a stay-at-home dad because of this reason, because he can help our son so much with all the homework. So we don't need to have tutors, because we really didn't want to have tutors. We'd prefer one of the parents to do it. So we're lucky we can afford to do that. But for other children, if they don't have a parent sitting helping with them, I think to get the homework done, I think the parents, it's maybe more manageable for them to send them to a tutor to get it done, to make sure it's done correctly. I'm not sure how effective they all are, but I think that's why the tutoring exists, because the schools give the homework. The parents know the children have to do the homework. It's not negotiable, they must do it. Yeah. So that's why I sort of think that's how it's evolved.
Your husband is from...
He's from New Zealand. Yeah,
Oh,
he's
but
New
he
Zealander.
speaks Chinese.
Yeah, he's been 20 years, but in mainland China. So he speaks Putonghua. So yeah, so obviously he's got simplified characters. So yeah.
What do you think of the different types of tutoring that students receive? For example, they've got private tutors,
Yeah.
they go to tutoring centers, and some have online tutoring
Yeah.
classes. What do you think of the different types?
Well, again, I just think there's so many variables concerned with it, because I think the needs of a primary school, say a P1 or P2, are quite different than maybe a secondary student just before some final examinations are receiving maths tutoring, which could actually be very, very beneficial. But I'm just not sure how much is that effective, how much more they learn by having a lot of homework and a lot of tutoring. But I've read, obviously my studies are in education, so I have read quite a lot about homework, the effect of homework, and there's quite a lot of compelling research that says actually in languages and maths it is beneficial, but for the other subjects not so beneficial. So I sort of can see in Hong Kong the students have Mandarin, Cantonese, English.
Yeah.
That's that's 3 languages. I understand why maybe if the parents know one and the other 2, they need tutors to help with the homework. So yeah, I think it's quite difficult for me to say is it effective, because I don't actually know how effective it is. But I'm sure for students, if they have to complete homework and the parents aren't there to help them, it must be. It's quite important.
But for the
Yeah.
different types of tutoring, do you think which one is more beneficial?
Oh, so what, having individual or group or...
Or like tutoring center?
I think for me, I'd always think, one-to-one would be more effective. But then in things like English, if I'm teaching a group of students, if the objective is spoken English, of course I'd always prefer to have 4 students as opposed to 1 student, because they can then do peer activities, group activities, so they can speak a lot more in different contexts rather than just one-to-one tutoring. So yeah, maybe, but depending on the subject, but I'm convinced that smaller groups are better for students, because of course the teacher can get round all the students and can focus on what they need. Yeah.
And then why do you think one-on-one is better?
Well, one-on-one, I think if you are doing something like maths or something where you have to explain very carefully a formula or something, and show the student how to do it, I think you'd get through a lot more quite quickly. But for doing more with language where you're using the language productively, I think having a bit of a larger group's more effective. That's purely what I've found in teaching a language, but yeah, I haven't taught maths, but that's what I would imagine, something like maths or science would be better having individual.
So are you saying that tutoring is effective in some ways?
Yeah, I suppose I am saying it's effective. I don't know how. I'm not convinced that it's definitely. Should it be needed? I don't know. Yeah, in a primary setting, but that's because I've grown up where we didn't have tutors after school, so we just did all the classwork within the class. So there was no tutoring after school. But then we only had one language, or maybe two, for me. Yeah.
I see. Can you describe your feelings towards tutoring?
Well, I do feel I do feel sadness that students have to continue working after a full day at school. I'm aware that I come from my cultural bias, coming from New Zealand, where we don't have such a thing as tutoring. So that, when the children, they have a bit of homework, but they do quite a lot of different activities. And so sports being one and play being another. And I do think these are really meaningful things for children. And, for me, I really love seeing children enjoy their childhood and having that freedom. But, and also saying that that's only one language coming out with one. If you're coming out with three languages, I understand there's more need for tutoring maybe. And my son definitely is becoming bilingual and biliterate, and he has homework, and sometimes I look and feel a bit sad he's having to do homework, but I also see the benefits of he can speak two languages, which is wonderful, and have friends that can speak two languages and they converse together. So there are pros and cons, I think. Pros and cons. I think definitely too much, I think, is not beneficial, I think, for children's sort of stress levels and happiness levels.
Do you know any students who have tutoring, or you didn't notice any?
No, just because we don't talk about it in the class, I'm in the class, so I don't know. But I know I always ask the students on the gate, how much homework will you have tonight, how many pieces of homework, how long will it take you? So, and quite often then they'll say to me, I'm going to my small school to do my homework. And small school, I know, translate for the children, they mean like a tutorial centre. So yeah, they'll often say 1 or 2 hours they are going for, and then on Saturdays and Sundays they will tell me, oh yes, I went to my small school for say 2 hours of English, or yeah.
So you actually know who goes to tutoring centre?
No, because I speak to hundreds of students in one day. Remember, I have 200 students, and I'm on a gate duty. So the gate, it's like, there's like maybe 70 students at one time lining up, very fast. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages of tutoring?
Well, I suppose advantages if the child isn't able to grasp what is being taught in the class, it allows them, we hope, to get a deeper understanding and to actually work out what it was they missed. But the only worry is, do they get that, or do they just go to the tutorial centre and the tutor again maybe repeats but doesn't give a deeper understanding of the problem, and then they just have 2 times meeting a problem, 2 times they don't understand the solution. So that's the concern. I suppose it really depends on is the tutorial centre, is it a really good one? Is it concerned about truly helping the students understand the answer, not just getting the answer correct for homework?
So what do you think are like good tutoring centres? What are the qualities of good tutoring?
I think, where they really, their main objective is to help the child fully understand what it is they've been asked to do, what it is, whether it be a maths question or a grammar question, and they make it meaningful so the student actually really does understand the answer, and we hope can use can I can't remember what I say. Yeah. But yeah, help them understand, a deeper understanding, and actually really understand the solution.
So maybe teaching at the tutoring centers, but not like always doing exercise or help with the homework.
Yeah, but it's hard, isn't it? Because the students have got this homework to do. So if the tutorial centres don't finish the homework, then the poor students have to then go home again. So of course I see they must complete the homework. I just think your hope would be that your child is getting enough one-on-one or small group or individual attention that they really do understand what it is they're writing, rather than the tutor just telling them the answer. Because
so this one doesn't apply, right? Does tutoring bring any influence on your class discipline?
No, I wouldn't really know. I don't think it'd be quite hard to answer that because
Okay. So do you support tutoring?
Or not? Do I support tutoring? Let me think. Ideally, I think it would be great if students didn't need tutoring. If they were not needing to go home after 3:30 and have tutors. I think if they, in an ideal world, that's me. But again, saying that's often in a culture where there's only one language. So that's not so I can see why there isn't such a heavy workload on the students. So where there are 3 languages.
So because of the curriculum?
I think, that's all I can think, because I just wonder then why other places don't have, say as in New Zealand or Australia, you don't have homework and you still come out with the same, you can still, you get to university. So I think, no. So no, you have little spelling, you have readers every day you have to read. You have little reading books, but you do have homework. As you go up the levels they have homework, but say I'm talking like P1 and P2, there's a little reader you'd read each night and a little 6 words that you'd have for spelling, say 6 or 7 words. But it's a whole different education way. The education system is quite different. So that's probably while talking to someone who's gone through a Western education system, the whole tutoring, you will get a whole different answers completely from someone who's gone through an Eastern education system. But I've worked a long time in Asia, and my child's also in a local system, so I also have a different slant on it, and I can see the merit of language. And I'm a language teacher, so I'm very passionate about languages. I think it's great if people can speak more than one language. So I think then the tutoring may well be needed. Yeah, but it's just a worry if children have not enough free time to play. And I know the government, even ran ads on TV saying make sure your child has 1 or 2 hours play a day. And I think of course we want them to play. Because there's so much learning through play and a very powerful learning tool. So I suppose I have 2 feet in different camps. One in the so to answer your questions, maybe it's not so black and white. I can see why it's needed, but I think it's a shame if we overload the children too much and at the detriment of their childhood. But you went through having and you probably had a very happy childhood and happy school memories. So I know, and when I talk to my other local colleagues, so I don't think one way is better or worse. It's quite different, just quite different. But it does make you think differently when someone asks you the question. You of course have your own cultural viewpoint, but you can also see another way as well. So because I see happy children in the schools. They're not sad and complaining. Yeah.
Have parents ever consult you about private tutoring?
Not normally, not yet, but probably because a lot here can't speak. There's not a lot of English spoken, so for parents it's quite hard to come up and even explain to me. I have been asked, but my contract, you're not allowed to do private tutoring. We sign a contract saying we won't do work outside of our school hours. So actually legally I can't. Or me suggest other tutors. Or ask me to suggest. No, they haven't, no. But I do think that's because I think the parents who can speak a lot of English, often their children don't need the English tuition because they've already got a lot of English help at home. The ones that can't, I think, can't approach me because no common language. So I think that might be why.
So you haven't advised parents to seek tutoring?
No.
So how does tutoring affect you as an English teacher?
Well,
any effects?
How does it? Well, I mean, it may well do if our students are all going to fantastic English tutors after school. I mean, maybe some of the high-level students go. If they go, maybe that has a direct... They can come and communicate to me, which means then often they're in things like the English club or extracurricular English fun activities. So it may well affect, if it is because of that the students' English is good because of tutoring. We just don't know exactly until we pinpoint each student.
Carson goes to tutoring.
Carson, I know Carson.
So his English is quite good, but did you notice that sometimes he doesn't pay attention?
Yeah, I do remember.
Do you think it's kind of related to tutoring?
I don't know. It could be personality. It could just be personality. He's quite, he does. He drifts off, doesn't he? I remember even when he was P1, he'd be quite, because he's quite, and his parents can speak a bit of English too, because they've spoken to me. But, I don't know. Yeah. It's quite hard to say, definitely, does it or does it not? Because there's so many things, isn't there, with language? Is it the school, a natural inclination, tutoring? Do they like English? Are they confident personalities, willing to try and speak to you? So, but I'm sure a good tutor, it must help because it's reinforcing what we're teaching in the day. Then they get, if it's a good tutor or a good tutoring centre where they really can particularly practice what they've spoken, then they come back to school and then they speak with us and then we speak back to them and then of course they get more fluency practice. So it must be, that would be the ideal would be that. It's just hard to work out how much it does affect, but I'm sure it must affect some. Yeah.
Is your content of teaching, activities, teaching pace, teaching schedule affected by tutoring?
I don't know. Can you stop for 1 minute? Okay, so probably if the tutoring had been, obviously they had really good tutors, they've learned a lot, they are understanding what they have been taught in the classroom and then consolidating it with tutors and coming back, definitely it would be, you could teach faster, more challenging material and they would be faster to pick it up. Yeah, if it was a good tutoring situation.
How about your professionalism, commitment, involvement, and your identity? Are they affected by tutoring?
I couldn't really say if they were affected by tutoring. Probably not really affected by tutoring because my teacher identity and professionalism, probably having commitments, it wouldn't change whether or not the child had been tutored or not. So, because of course as a teacher we have to be, we can't favour any students because of a certain situation, so ones that have been tutored or ones that have not. We'd have to be committed to basically getting the best out of the ones that hadn't been tutored and the ones that had been tutored. So probably wouldn't affect.
Okay. How do you pursue your goals as a English teacher under the influence of tutoring?
I think the goals probably, again, wouldn't be because of the tutoring. It would purely be as a teacher, as a language teacher, would be the goals is to get the children understanding what they are either reading or writing, and particularly as a net teacher trying to get them speaking and saying and not just finishing the task, actually making it meaningful, so they actually are trying to say it to each other and communicate with a purpose. So that probably wouldn't have changed whether or not there was tutoring or not. But of course, if there'd been effective tutoring and the tutors had really helped them doing the spoken and they were contributing towards their confidence in speaking English, then that would help make my job easier, because there'd be a more confidence speaking, so we could do more speaking activities. Or higher level speaking activities.
Do you view tutoring as a competitor?
Not really, because I think, no, not really, because probably very different roles. Children going to a tutor after school. I think for the after schools, probably an awful lot is getting homework completed. So maybe weekend ones where they're going to speaking classes in English. No, not as a competitor. That's a definite friend, because they definitely make my job easier, because if they have more speaking practice, when they come in the classroom, they're able to speak more. And so they really are, no, definitely not a competitor. If anything, good tutoring would be a friend to the English teacher. It makes our job easier. The more they are confident speakers, the better it is for us. Yeah.
So how will you describe teacher and tutor? If you use some metaphor or some words to describe.
Well, I'm just not, because I haven't gone through the tutoring system in Hong Kong myself, but I feel that tutors the focus is on completing the homework, whereas I think the teachers, I'm just thinking of after school tuition, for teachers, we are focused, of course, on completing tasks, but we're very focused on the steps that the children need to take towards the completion of the task, and then even the task is completed, then the job comes of the children being able to produce the language. So it's an ongoing, more cyclical, whereas I feel probably the after school is just basically getting that homework completed, because there's quite a lot of homework for the students. And I may be wrong there, but that's sort of my feeling of it. So while the tutors, I'm sure, play a role in the development of the students' sort of academic ability, maybe the teacher has a little more holistic going, especially when I think of the little P1s, and for all levels, coming in, trying to move them from non-spoken, non-literal, not a lot of English, getting them right through the reading, writing, speaking. It's, quite a quite a journey really for the teacher and the students. Whereas I wonder at the tutorial centres, it's really completing tasks, and then they're done, so then the next task comes and they can help complete it. But I'm sure there are great tutors and, like teachers, great teachers, mediocre teachers, So, some might be very inspiring, but I wonder when they've got a deadline of a homework, 2 sheets or 3 sheets of homework, got to get that done first. I might be wrong.
Okay, so do you have anything else to talk about tutoring?
No, not really. I'd just like to have a little more experience of having gone through the tutorial system, so I would know exactly what happens. Whereas, did you go to tutors after school?
Yeah.
In
secondary school, I didn't
secondary.
go in primary school.
No. Oh, that's interesting, Yeah, we had tutors for secondary school. I had a maths tutor when I had the big exams. It was,
Because for primary school, I think it's too early.
Yeah, it seems quite early to me too.
Too little.
Quite little, aren't they? No. No, I feel that too. I can understand secondary, but also with our school, with the parents, if they don't speak a lot of English, it's quite hard for the parents to help them complete the homework.
And also because they're very busy.
Yeah, I know, working often or one parent working, and it's challenging for them. Yeah. Okay, well, I hope that helped.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
No.